Hi, and welcome to this tutorial for EdTech Guides. This tutorial is going to talk about Gizmos, which is an ExploreLearning solution for math and science classes targeted to students in 3rd through 12th grade, but students in kindergarten, 1st and 2nd grade, and higher education could also benefit from these Gizmos as well. So I've already created my account and logged into Gizmos, and you're able to create a free account. Just fill out some information about why you're using Gizmos, what you teach, what school district you're in, just some data to inform them. So ExploreLearning as a company has been around for about 16 years, which is very mature for a education technology company. So as we go through this tutorial, you will see some features that aren't always present in other educational technology, and a lot of that can be attributed to the maturity of the software. So this is the homepage for ExploreLearning Gizmos. So you can see here that there's some features I want to draw your attention to before we jump into classes that can be added and Gizmos that can be added. So here we have on-demand professional development. So this is kind of one of those features I just mentioned. So on-demand professional development gives you access to webinars, asynchronous modules, and a community of teachers who are using Gizmo in a variety of settings. So the on-demand PD helps with using the Gizmos, understanding how virtual simulations can be used in math and science, and kind of teaching these concepts through something that may be a little bit new to you. So the other thing up here to see is the purchasing info. ExploreLearning allows a 30-day free trial, and they have licensing options both for individual teachers and at the more of an institution level. So we will look at the homepage now. You can see over here on the left-hand side it says My Classes. So I currently have 2 classes added. You are able to add 6 classes and up to 35 students per class. So that's very helpful, and I know the math and middle school math, science, and high school math and science teachers are smiling at that right now because, right, they see rotating students and a lot of students, and this really alleviates a lot of those administrative tasks and project management. So right now I have 2 classes added here, but if I wanted to add a new class, you simply click the button and then you fill out the tab name, and the tab name is an 8-character limit. So if your full name extends beyond that, when you're looking at the tab in the page, obviously would just show the tab name. So let's just say Chem, and then this would be, that's kind of a college class, right? Let's do AP Chemistry. So I'm going to add that class. So you can see here that after you add your class, it has it up here on your homepage as an additional tab. So this is how you can tab through the different classes that you've added to your ExploreLearning profile. Another really handy feature on this page is the class enrollment code. So this is an enrollment code that can be downloaded as a PDF, printed out, and given to all students so that they can choose to join the Gizmo. Because as you can see, the code is kind of long, so you definitely want to provide students with a physical copy of that code. But what this does, it allows the students to automatically join the Gizmo, the class that they're supposed to join, which if you teach, upwards of 80 students, that is a huge time saver. However, it is possible to add students individually, so you would just go to Manage Class Roster, and then you would be able to add a new student. You can see here, you just need the first name and the last name, and it would generate the username and password for them. You would just provide that to the students so they could log in. So that's how you add a class. It's really simple. So now we're going to return to the class Gizmo list. So there are a few ways to search Gizmos. You can see here that it says add some Gizmos to this class right here. While you can definitely do that, what I'm going to direct your attention to is the top navigation menu where it says Find Gizmos, and this is actually a really handy feature for new teachers to ExploreLearning because it provides a nice stable way of always searching for the Gizmos. So you can see here that there's 3 different ways to search for Gizmo. First, you can just type in a Gizmo that you're searching for. So let's say you're teaching this chemistry class, you know your students have trouble with acids and bases, so you start typing that in and see what pops up. However, there are other ways to search by Gizmos. So you can search by academic standard, by grade and topic, and by textbook. So we're going to start by searching academic standard. So it has the Common Core standards, the Next Generation Science standards, all 50 state standards, and it also has standards for countries outside of the US. So Australia, Canada, and the UK. So if we wanted to search by standard, I'm just going to select the Next Generation Science standards. And you can see here that it has the disciplinary core ideas, which if you're familiar with the Next Generation Science standards, you know what those are. It has those broken into grade bands according to the Next Generation Science standards. So let's look for high school, since we picked a AP chemistry class. And so you can see here that it starts with physical science, but I'm just going to scroll down here to chemistry, because we're focused on chemistry. So use mathematical representations to support the claim that atoms and therefore mass are conserved during a chemical reaction. So you can see here that ExploreLearning has identified 4 of their gizmos as helping to teach this core idea of the Next Generation Science standards. So I'm going to go back to searching now, just so you can see what those other searches look like before we get into the gizmo. And you can see there, I just clicked browse. So ExploreLearning gizmos are really good at leaving breadcrumbs, so you can find where you were, how you got there, and how to go back. So the second way to search is by grade and topic. So you can see here that there are math and science divided by grades. So what jumps off the page right away for me with this is that differentiated instruction, which we all know can be quite challenging to actually pull off in the classroom. ExploreLearning makes it possible to do it with these virtual simulations. So let's say that you have students who are at different levels. You might have an English language learner, someone who just came here from a different country. You might have somebody with a IEP, or accessibility concerns, or you might have somebody who is at a higher than expected grade level. So all ends of the spectrum in terms of abilities. What you can actually do is assign gizmos to individual students according to where they're at. And so you are still teaching, right, the same content and concepts, but you're just meeting students in their zone of proximal development, which is very helpful. So for example, with chemistry, grades 9 through 12, you would click chemistry. However, if you have students who are performing in that 6 to 8 grade range, you would click physical science and you would get the same sort of suggested gizmos. They would just be modified for a different grade level or ability level. So we're just going to click chemistry again, and you can see here that now, because it's grades, it's broken up into chemistry subtopics. And then you can see all of the subtopics as well. So the final way to search is by textbook, which is really, really neat. So ExploreLearning has actually gone through, saw what textbooks are normally used in these classes and pulled them here. So we're just going to click Macmillan. Just picked one to see what textbooks are there. So these are the textbooks from Macmillan that are normally used for science. As you can see, they're all elementary or early middle school. So let's just say that this Hackett First Edition by Macmillan is what is used. Then these are the recommended gizmos to use for that grade level with this textbook. So it goes through them all. So that's how you search for gizmos. So now let's go back to our class that we added. So you can see in this class that actually in the add some gizmos to this class text box there, you're actually allowed to also search for gizmos from recommended gizmos or from shared gizmo lists from the community. And as you begin interacting with education technology more, you'll understand how the community works and be able to utilize those features to their full capacity. But for new teachers, what I just showed you is really the recommended way to find gizmos. So we're going to search by grade and topic here to add a gizmo to this AP Chemistry class. So we're in Chemistry. Since we picked AP Chemistry, we're going to be dealing with students who have already completed one chemistry class, so they're going to be juniors or seniors. So let's say we're interested in density experiment with, it says chunks of material. So we're just going to click that to get some more information on this lesson and on this gizmo simulation. So you can see here it gives you just a screenshot that launches the gizmo, but then also a really brief introduction to what the goal of the gizmo is. There's assessment questions. So every single gizmo comes with 5 built-in assessment questions. And they're actually pretty challenging questions that have to do with the actual completion of the gizmo. So it will ask extended questions or transfer questions related to the gizmo. If you are a subscribing teacher, if you have an ExploreLearning account, you're able to actually contribute lessons. So you can talk about how you use this in your classroom. You're also able to recommend the gizmo. As a non-subscribing account, I'm able to share the gizmo or look at the assessment questions. So I just want to scroll down a little bit and then we can jump right into the gizmo. So for lesson materials, there are 4 different resources that are given. So once we open the gizmo, you will see that it's rather open-ended in terms of how students can manipulate it. And so that's great. And students will eventually get to the point where they feel comfortable kind of working with variables in that way. But at the beginning, there's a student exploration sheet that kind of scaffolds them in their thinking. So you're able to download a PDF or a Word if you want to customize it, and that's the same for all lesson materials. The only lesson material that's not available under the free account is the answer sheet, the answer key. So that can be handy, right? But if you have the content expertise for teaching this, probably not always necessary. And then there's a teacher guide and a vocabulary sheet, and both of those are also able to be customized. So now I'm just going to scroll back up and we are ready to launch the gizmo and see what it looks like. So here is the gizmo, and this is what students interact with the whole time they're completing it. So you can see here that it gives us a suggested observation, which is to drag the chunk to the material investigation tray, slice it into smaller chunks, or drag it into the water. So we have different materials that we can work around with here, and you can see that they give you unknown A and unknown B. So as students would be working through that exploration sheet, it would probably scaffold them through using those unknown materials by starting with the known materials. So we're just going to start with aluminum and see what that does. So we put it in our investigation tray, and it tells you what the mass and the volume is. So now we have the ability to slice the aluminum or to place it into the water. So we can see here when we place the aluminum directly into the water, it sink. But we can reset it. So we can slice it, put one material here, see the mass and the volume there, set it in and see what it does. You can reset, choose a different material, choose to slice it, observe the mass and the volume, place it into the water and see what happens. So we can do that, and the student exploration sheet would guide students through doing that. But we can do that with any of the materials that we have. So we can see that the wood has a much lower mass and volume, and we can see that it floats. So this is kind of getting students to think about density in an applied and concrete way with a topic that's kind of abstract. So that's how the gizmo works, and so students would just go through their student exploration sheet and complete the gizmo. You're able here to give feedback, share it, or go into presentation mode with the gizmo. So let's say I really like this gizmo and I want to add it to my class. Just click Add to Class, choose the class, and you are done. So if we go back to My Classes and choose our AP Chemistry class, this gizmo is now in our class. So students would be able to say, you'd be able to say to students, okay, this is what we're going to do. They log in and get started on it right away. So you can get some assessment results. You can hide it if you're not ready to work on it. And then you can just rearrange the gizmo or remove it. So those are the options for your class. So that is the gist of how ExploreLearning and the gizmos work. And so once again, intended for math and science courses, K-12, but in particular grades 3 through 12 is what they've mapped to.